There comes a moment when the most powerful word you will ever speak is goodbye. Not because you hate, not because you wish them harm, but because you've finally chosen yourself. Narcissists can't handle this moment. Why? Because their entire existence depends on control. They feed on the push and pull, the endless cycle of chaos. As long as you stay, they feel powerful. But when you walk away, when you close that door and refuse to look back, you break the cycle. You strip them of the control they worked so hard to hold over you. Goodbye is often seen as an ending, but in truth, it can be one of the most profound beginnings of our lives. When we say goodbye to someone who has wounded us, disrespected us, or drained us, we are not walking away in weakness. We are stepping into the deepest form of strength. For a long time, we are taught to cling, to hold on, to fix, to believe that love means enduring, no matter how painful the situation becomes. We're conditioned to think that saying goodbye means we failed, that it's proof we weren't enough, or that somehow we should have tried harder. But the truth is, goodbye can be the most courageous act of self-love you will ever perform. When you finally whisper or maybe shout the word goodbye, something shifts inside you. It's the moment you realize that your worth is not measured by how much pain you can tolerate. It's the moment you accept that love without respect is not love at all. Goodbye is powerful because it cuts the chains of manipulation and opens the door to your freedom. A narcissist will never understand the power behind your goodbye. To them, endings are supposed to be messy, full of chaos, tears, and unfinished business. They thrive in that space because it keeps you tethered to their world. But when you stand firm, when you choose finality instead of circling back into their cycle, you take back the narrative. You reclaim your voice. You remind yourself, I am no longer available for pain disguised as love. Goodbye isn't just a word, it's a declaration. It says, I will not shrink myself to fit into your broken story. It says, I will no longer abandon myself to keep you comfortable. And most importantly, it says, I am free. That's the power of goodbye. It doesn't just close a chapter, it opens a new book entirely, one where you finally get to be the author of your own story. If there's one truth about narcissists, it's this. They survive and thrive on control. Control is their lifeline. It is the very oxygen they breathe. Without it, their carefully built illusion begins to collapse. And that's exactly why your final goodbye is something they can't handle. It threatens the very foundation of their power. From the beginning, narcissists work tirelessly to weave a web around you. They study you. They learn what makes you smile, what makes you cry, what makes you feel seen. At first, it feels intoxicating, as though you found someone who finally understands you. But slowly, that attention turns into something darker. What once felt like love begins to feel like surveillance. What once seemed like care begins to feel like control. They want to be the center of your thoughts, your decisions, your emotions. If you're happy, they want the credit. If you're sad, they want the power to either fix it or make it worse. And if you ever try to step away, they'll do whatever it takes to pull you back. Because for them, it was never about love. It was always about dominance. This is why finality terrifies them. Control thrives in the gray areas, the half goodbyes, the unanswered texts, the maybe we'll try again one day. They know if the door is left even slightly open, they can slip back in. But when you slam it shut with clarity and finality, when you stand rooted in our decision to walk away, they lose their grip. And that loss feels unbearable to them. But here's the part they'll never admit. Their fear of losing control has nothing to do with you as a person. Boundaries are not walls to keep love out. They are doors that protect peace, dignity, and self-respect. For so long, many of us confuse boundaries with selfishness. We are taught that good people give endlessly, forgive endlessly, and sacrifice endlessly. And because of that conditioning, when someone crosses our line, we often redraw it further back instead of holding firm. But here's the truth. Boundaries are not rejection. They are liberation. When you finally reach the place of saying no more, you are not shutting someone out. You are setting yourself free. You are declaring, my heart, my mind, and my spirit are not open for harm. That's what the final goodbye really is. It is the ultimate boundary. It's saying you no longer get access to me, to my peace, to my energy, or to my life. And this is precisely why narcissists hate boundaries. Boundaries are kryptonite to them. Why? Because boundaries mean they no longer have free access to your emotions, your time, or your attention. To a narcissist, your boundary feels like rejection. It feels like you're cutting off their lifeline. They don't see it as your self-protection. They see it as betrayal. And so they push harder, guilt trip deeper, and test every line you draw. But liberation begins when you stop moving the line. When you stand tall and say, this is my boundary and I will honor it even if you don't. That is the moment you step into your power. The beauty of boundaries is that they are not punishment. They are protection. They are not about controlling others. They are about honoring yourself. They are about choosing peace over chaos and clarity over confusion. When you walk away and refuse to return to the cycle, that boundary becomes your shield, and it protects everything you are rebuilding, your confidence, your joy, your sense of self. Think of it this way. Every time you enforce a boundary, you are telling yourself, I matter. Every time you choose to hold the line, you are reinforcing the belief that your life is worth protecting. That is liberation. That is freedom. And here's the truth. Narcissists will never admit they don't lose you because of your boundary. They lose you because they refuse to respect it. That distinction matters because in the end, your boundary is not about punishing them for their behavior. It's about honoring your need for safety, peace, and authenticity. Closure is something most healthy people seek when a relationship ends. We want understanding, resolution, and peace. We want to know that the chapter is complete so we can move forward. But narcissists resist closure at all costs because closure for you means the end of their control, and nothing terrifies them more than being cut off from the access they once had. Narcissists survive on open loops. They keep relationships in a constant state of unfinished business. They'll say, maybe we'll try again. We still have a connection, or you'll never find someone like me. These words are not about love. They are hooks. Hooks designed to keep you from closing the door. They know that as long as you are confused, as long as you're still hoping for an explanation or a different ending, you're still tethered to them. They resist closure because chaos is their comfort zone. If you are left wondering what went wrong, second-guessing yourself, or replaying conversations in your mind, they still have influence over you. That uncertainty feeds them. It keeps you emotionally invested, even if you physically walked away. Closure also threatens their ego. If you walk away with clarity and peace, they are no longer in control of the narrative. They can't spin the story or rewrite themselves as the hero. Instead, they're faced with the undeniable truth. You ended it, you see, the boundary, and you chose yourself. For someone who thrives on dominance, that is unbearable. This is why when you try to seek closure from a narcissist, you often leave with even more confusion. One of the hardest truths to accept when saying the final goodbye to a narcissist is this: your goodbye is not about them. It is not about teaching them a lesson, proving your worth, or making them regret what they lost. Your goodbye is about you, your healing, your peace, your future. Narcissists often twist our goodbye into a game. They want you to believe you are leaving to make them change, to make them realize how valuable you were, to make them come crawling back in apology. And if you carry that hope, even secretly, they still hold power over you, because then your goodbye becomes dependent on their reaction. But let me be clear, your goodbye is not their punishment. It is not a strategy to spark guilt, remorse, or transformation. Narcissists rarely, if ever, feel the deep accountability that fuels genuine change. If you walk away hoping they will finally see your value, you're still centering your healing around them. That's not freedom. That's another form of captivity. Your goodbye is a declaration to yourself, not to them. It's the moment you stop asking, will they ever see my worth? And start declaring, I see my worth, and that is enough. It's the day you stop begging for their recognition and begin giving yourself the recognition you've always deserved. Think of it this way. If your goodbye is about making them feel something, you are still tethered to their emotions. But if your goodbye is about reclaiming your life, your energy, and your dignity, then you've cut the cord. The power shifts back to you. This is why narcissists can't handle it, because the moment you stop centering them in your story, the moment you no longer need their validation, they lose the very control they thrived on. For so long, they were the mirror reflecting back who you thought you were. But when you choose to leave without looking back for their reaction, you smash that mirror, and in its place you begin to see your true reflection, one that is strong, worthy, and free. And yes, it hurts. Saying goodbye to someone you once loved, even if they harmed you, comes with grief. You might still long for the apology that never comes, the recognition that was never given. That longing is human. But here's the beauty. Healing doesn't require their acknowledgement. Healing requires only your decision to choose yourself. So remember this. Your goodbye is not their validation. It's your liberation. It's not a test to see if they will fight for you. It's a promise that you will fight for yourself. It's not a trap to make them regret losing you. It's the open door to a life where you will never lose yourself again. When you walk away with that mindset, you will no longer wait for their response, their regret, or their reaction. You will know deep in your bones that the only validation you ever needed was your own. There is a moment in life when staying becomes more painful than leaving, when every compromise, every second chance, and every excuse you've made for someone else chips away at your dignity. And in that moment, walking away is no longer an option. It becomes an act of radical self-respect. For so long, many of us are taught that leaving is failure, that if we just try harder, love deeper, forgive more, things will get better. And so we stay. We stay because we hope. We stay because we fear judgment. We stay because we are told that love should be unconditional, even when it's destroying us. But here's the truth. Love without respect is not love. And respect for yourself is not selfish, it's sacred. Walking away from a narcissist is one of the most powerful acts of self-respect you will ever choose. It's standing tall and saying, I am no longer available for mistreatment. I am no longer willing to sacrifice my peace for someone else's comfort. I am no longer shrinking to fit into a story that was never mine to begin with. Narcissists can't handle this because your departure exposes a truth they never wanted you to see. For so long, you may have felt the need to explain yourself, to defend, to argue, to prove your side of the story. Every time they lied, twisted the truth, or painted themselves as the victim, you found yourself caught in the exhausting cycle of explaining, clarifying, and justifying. But here's the truth. Words rarely change a narcissist. In fact, the more you explain, the more material you give them to twist and use against you. This is why silence is so powerful. Silence is not weakness, it's wisdom. It's understanding that not every battle deserves your energy, not every attack deserves your reaction, and not every wound requires you to bleed out in front of the one who caused it. Silence is the moment you stop feeding the cycle and start reclaiming your power. Narcissists thrive on your reactions. Anger, tears, arguments, these are fuel to them. They don't care if you're praising them or confronting them. As long as you're engaging, they still hold control. But when you choose silence, when you stop responding to the bait, you take away the one thing they depend on, your energy. And make no mistake, they feel that silence. They feel it more deeply than any speech you could ever give. Because silence says, you no longer have access to me. Silence says, I refuse to argue about my worth. Silence says, your words no longer have power here. It's not easy, though. Silence takes discipline. It takes the strength to sit with your emotions without needing to release them into a space where they'll only be weaponized. It takes courage to resist the urge to explain yourself one last time, to hope that maybe, just maybe, they'll finally understand. But silence isn't about them understanding. It's about you choosing peace over chaos. Think of it like this. Silence is the closing of a door. When you respond, even with anger, you're leaving the door cracked open. But silence, she is the firm turning of the lock. It says, this chapter is finished. And that is why narcissists can't handle it, because they thrive on noise. And your silence reminds them of the one truth they can't control. You're gone. Over time, you'll discover that silence heals you too, because every argument you don't engage in, every message you don't respond to, every insult you don't absorb, you save a piece of your own soul. You preserve your peace. You protect your energy for the things and people who actually matter. Silence is not emptiness. It is fullness. It is the sound of reclaiming your voice without speaking a single word. It is the moment when you no longer need to be understood by them because you finally understand yourself. So let your silence speak. Let it be the loudest goodbye you will ever